There we go. Hit the wrong button. Welcome back, everybody, to another time of the week. According to Sammy, his favorite time of the week. Me and Richard arguing with each other and shouting at each other and disagreeing with each other. But yeah, to the three people watching, Sammy, me, back, Crypt, thank you all for coming. Yeah, you all know what we're doing here. You all know what the crack is. Let me know about my audio. I had a few issues the other night on audio, whether I'm too loud relative to Richard or back and forth or so. But Richard, let everyone know about your beautiful self. I will hand the floor to you.
Thank you so much. Gosh, I get bored saying it the same way every time, so I try to say it different every time. Just generally that there are very ancient human beings, more ancient than what we would have considered cavemen, who just never lived on this earth. And what they've done is, or what they do continuously, is create planets like this, and they tell the story of their, I'll even do it MathPig style, alien invasion onto the planet, which ends the planet. And they become the alien overlords and invite us into their society to go forward and do the same thing again. Create another Earth, put another batch of human beings on it, and then let it percolate for, I don't know, 30,000 years or what have you. What's that?
And then wipe them out.
And then invite them to leave.
No, wipe them.
And what few refuse to leave for... I really can't understand someone refusing. I really can't. I mean, even if I just had the choice of stay on this earth for the rest of your natural life or explore space and live forever, I would choose to explore space and live forever anyway.
Yes, but if the choice was come forth, join our empire, and then subjugate other people, that also happens. But if you word it differently, you have different issues with it. I would obviously want to go and travel space. Everybody's going to say they want to go and travel space. But the cost of doing that is becoming part of a group of people who then go forth, create this, do all this, and as we say, wipe the planet out, alien overlords, and all of this. So that comes with it as well, Richard. You can't just say who wouldn't want to come and explore space, because that's not what they do. They explore space, then exploit planets, exploit people, destroy them. There's a whole thing there. Hey Pat, thanks for coming. It's something you're leaving out, little bit.
Well, I think we all understand that's part of it. Depending on how much I agree that humans should exist in the universe and continue to exist, and the total population of humans should grow, and that they should be allowed some amount of free choice for a time, that those are all necessities to a human utopian society. I may or may not agree with their methodology. I guess it depends on the person and what they value, whether or not they totally agree.
Well, that's it, man. At the end of the day, if some people decide to stay, there's lots of reasons on why they would stay. It's not turning down the opportunity to explore space. It's the fact that possibly this motherfucker burst into the living room and shot my entire family because they didn't agree with it. Your followers have been torturing me for 7 years. The followers of these people
have been torturing someone for 7 years.
Yeah, it's been hell for 7 years before the planet dies. 3, 7.
Well, end times, quote unquote, is 7 years. Apparently, it's what they're claiming.
Yes, so I've been tortured for 7 years. I possibly don't want to go and hang around with my torturer.
Okay, I guess if a person could still look at it that way, in that time.
It sort of does look that way,
I don't know. I mean, I don't see it that way, but I can certainly see how someone could see it that way.
Hi, Maya. Thanks for coming. Maya, confirmed for the New Year's Eve. Just a quick shout out and remind everybody as well, if you're still up for that. New Year's Eve party, St. Louis. 70 quid a ticket. That's accommodation, that's food for 2 days, accommodation for 2 days, t-shirt, tickets for the museum, basically everything but alcohol. Pick up to and from the airport and the train station. Everything. We've covered everything for the 70 quid. And if you can get there and you don't want to stay with us, it's 35 and you can still come to the fucking the museum and come to the party and stuff and all like that. Covers your food and everything. But yeah, that still definitely happens, still confirmed. So check your schedules, abandon your family, and come join me and Richard and Maya and Savage and Bree and all going well back and Sammy and all too. So should be fun, people. Should be fun. Richard, I do believe that we are on chapter 13, verse 13, or somewhere in around there. So if you would like to start us off with your beautiful voice and embrace us or enlighten us. There you go.
I've checked my pockets. I can't find my beautiful voice, but I'll use this one. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from the heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, so backing up to the beginning of that, is there anything you wanted to say about it?
So you've got the beast telling everybody to build an idol to the false god, you know, or what they perceive as the real god. Yeah. So that's just what I'm saying, and it's that should make an image of the beast, which was the wound by the sword and did live. That's just making a reference back to the fact that he got his head cut and he's back here and I'm still alive, you know. So that's just saying to me that it's the beast, the Antichrist, or whatever you want to refer to it as, saying to people, go forth and make an idol. Hey, dog.
Yeah, I think the people don't make the idol, but Satan's kind make the idol, because later it does things that, you know, statues that we normally make, you know, unskilled people making a statue, it does things that it shouldn't be able to do. As far as calling down fire from the sky, I think the war in the heavens and all that, and you know, the mountains falling with fire and all that, this is just him saying that it's his power that did these things that are happening. So it's a claim, not so much that he actually did something.
And he does great wonders, so that he maketh fire come from the heaven in the sight of men. Yeah, he's just showing off.
Yeah, he's trying to impress him. The beast which had a wounded by a sword and did live. Of course, you just mentioned that. I believe that's the beast of Satan, and that love is what was the head of him that was cut off was love, and he has none.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. What's it? Wow, that'd be weird if you literally had, you know, 7 heads and 10 horns. That'd be pretty objectionable for most people, I think.
You're flickering there ever so slightly in your audio, in and out. Maybe in my.
Let me turn off this fan. Maybe that's it.
What's wrong with
You'll
the
have
Richard's
to tell me
audio
over time.
back? Is it too loud, or you're making comments and I don't know? Be more specific. Tell us what the issue is. I don't know why the fucking mics. It should be fucking great.
Just tell me if that's better. They said maybe too much gain. I just turned it down a little bit. I do have what they call phantom power.
It's
not me. The microphone does.
Do Rage and MathPig look like distant brothers? Well, if you're blind, you know.
Oh yeah, you look exactly the same if a person's nearly blind.
Yeah. I look closer to Richard than I would say I look to Knock. We've both got the big forehead. We've both got the beautiful red hair, you know.
Yeah. Although these days I have to colorize it. That's the way it goes. You get older.
Right. So, chapter 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. So you say they didn't make the image of the beast. Now it's saying that they did.
I think beings make the image of the beast. That's true. And they make it in the image of the beast of Satan. I think that's true. But here it's about to do stuff that normal statues don't do. Which is why I say it's not a normal statue.
But you said that they didn't create an image of the beast, and now you're saying that they did.
I didn't say that no one creates an image of the beast.
Just that
I said that I think it's Satan's kind that create it, not the people on the planet.
Oh, Satan's kind, not anyone on the planet.
Not the people on the planet. I wouldn't call them people. They're definitely living beings, but I wouldn't call them people. I just think I reserve people for, not dogs, not elephants, Homo sapiens sapien. That's what I reserve the word people for.
I would reserve people for, if you're taking aliens into consideration, anyone of an intelligence that you could have a conversation with.
If you want me to use it that way, that's fine. The people of Satan create the beast of Satan's image.
Okay. And the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Right.
So worship my cyborg or die.
Killed.
Pardon?
What's that?
Worship my cyborg or die. Well,
no. It's the cyborg itself saying worship or die.
Yes, but it's not. You're not worshiping the actual cyborg. It's an image. It's telling you to worship the beast.
It's not saying worship me. It looks to me like it's demanding that you worship it. That's what it looks to me, because it's saying it's causing a thing. It's the cause.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, go on ahead.
Okay, so it's killing folks. If you don't worship it, you're killing it. It's killing you. It'll kill you. At least that's how I read this. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. There is a lot of conjecture about this within Christianity, this mark of the beast. If the text is consistent, I think a mark in your forehead is a belief system that is evident in your person and how you act and how you think and how you react to new situations, etc. I don't think also there would be a physical mark in the hand either. It's just the work that you do. Who are you working for?
Yeah,
well, it's evident that if you're working for the beast of Satan, you're aligned to the beast of Satan, not Jesus. And that's evident. That would be evident in what you do.
And no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
Right. I don't think that really needs much explanation.
Yeah, well, he's taken over, so to speak, but you have to do what you're told and show that you're there. Right. Just a shout out to new people who've turned up. Andrew, hi Sirloin, hi Doug, and Knock and all turned up. Boxes here. Thanks everybody for coming.
Yeah, thank you all very much. So I think this is just, it's evident who you're working for. If you don't work for them, you're ass out. That's the claim, which is exactly why Jesus says, abandon work, abandon planning for the future, abandon your parents, your siblings, your children if you have to. Follow me, just go to heaven, because otherwise you're basically a slave who is forced to worship in very unnatural ways, like physically humbling yourself to the ground and calling them the best and all that stuff. And that, of course, I believe is not in our nature at all. And then there's the number, and the number is the number of a man in 18 there. Now, I received this through prayer, which means all of you would take it with a grain of salt. I take it very, very seriously that the number of a man is, in a traditional sense, is his family and his knowledge.
His number?
His number is his family and his knowledge, yeah.
Right, that doesn't make sense to me, because family and knowledge isn't generally described using a number. So could you explain that for me?
Sure. There is something that has 66 parts, and it's a matter of knowledge. And that's the King James Version of the Bible.
Why does it matter?
Because if he's going to twist it, he has to know it.
Why the King James? I would say a lot of people would, fundamentalists would read the King James, but is it the most popular version of the Bible out there?
I don't know that. I haven't looked it up statistically.
Yeah.
I know that it's very popular.
It's popular amongst fundamentalists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
fundamentalists themselves, though, are a small minority of Christians. So you could have every single fundamentalist read it and be 100%. But if they're only 2% of the entire population, then it's still only a small minority of Christians read it,
And that would be bad thinking on my part if there hadn't just been a process that handpicks the fundamentals to stay behind. That is, if a person were open-minded, they were more progressive, they might think something like, well, this person is obviously trans something and goes to heaven, and I'm okay with that. They wouldn't reject heaven for that reason. Or that heaven has a physicality. Well, because they're more forward thinking, they might be more susceptible to accepting that heaven has physicality to it. Whereas a more fundamentalist Christian expects to, like, I don't know, poof out of existence into some ethereal plane or something like that. So they've kind of selected themselves because of their beliefs. So, and I'm not saying that that's 100%, but it seems like the situation itself would make them more likely to reject heaven.
Considering that the King James Bible was written in what year?
It was published in 1610.
Right. So for 1,600 years, this story has been very popular and predominant and around. So would you think that there's more chance of them possibly putting 66 books in the Bible to match this rather than the actual book describing it? Because the story is older, and the story you're saying is describing the King James Bible. The King James Bible came out 1,600 years later.
Yeah.
So
are you saying, are they making the story match reality? They certainly had opportunity to do that, no doubt about that. But in order that they would alter it in that way to match this, they'd have had to have understood that this is what 666 or 666 means. That the 6, never mind the fact that it's sixes, and what that means to the Hebrew, that he's one of 6 in his family, and that he values and has thoroughly studied the King James Version. That's what I think it's saying.
So why is it 66 books and not 666?
Because there aren't 666 books in the Bible?
But the number is 666. That's the relative number. The relative number isn't 66. The number is 666. Or I think 636 if you go back and read it. And then there's the whole idea of Nero, and this describing Nero. And you have any thoughts on any of these things?
On Nero and all that? The historicity? I don't think it's supposed to be a historical record.
No. 666 I have heard, have not checked myself, but obviously they have certain words and they convert them into numbers. There's every word and every letter in the language has a number. Then from that relative number, Nero being the person who persecuted the Christians and blamed them for burning all that shit, they converted his name into numbers, and it was 666, or I think originally 636.
Yeah, actually you can do that with several names and end up with that value.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be definitive. If that was correct, it wouldn't be definitive, because also Pope John Paul equaled 666. Nero, as you say, and there's been several others.
Pope John Paul was born in a completely different time, and his name was in an English name. So, like, no real
but you can
relevance.
still translate it into Hebrew and then translate that into a number system.
Yes, which
and
is...
numbers. The reason mathematics are the universal language, and the reason that math is so applicable so broadly and so useful, is because math is designed to be manipulated to describe the actuality. That's what math does.
Would you
Math
be
doesn't decide what exists. Math describes what you want it to describe.
okay?
So of course they can manipulate maths and make them equal some Nero's name or whatever. You just decide where to add and where to subtract, where to multiply and where to divide, and you'll get the number you want.
Right, and you have made the decision that it must be definitive. You've made the decision that this number is pointless. You know, the number itself has no relevance or anything. It could be Nero, it could be this. You're applying your importance to it and saying it's the King James Bible with 66 books because of that.
Well, I think it is true.
The idea that whenever I said to you about Nero and stuff, and you're like, well, that's not definitive. You know, it's not right. Why does it have to be definitive? You're assuming that it must be. It must mean something. It could mean absolutely nothing. It could mean the amount of fucking sandwiches that the guy made that month. You know, it could be anything whatsoever.
Sure, it could be. It just, if it has some meaning to the people of the time when this is happening, then, you know, it's going to be meaning to them of the time.
Yeah, which is why St. John Paul, or call him, whatever you call him, fucking Pope, doesn't matter and all, because it's not relative to them.
Right. That's why I'm saying if it has some value, and let's just speculate on it so that it's not just a waste of ink. If it has some value, the value would be in the second half of end times.
I am more than happy for this to be a waste of ink. We don't have to say that it doesn't have to be. This guy could have wasted his time. That's fine with me. He's wasted his entire life. Lots of people can squander their life in Christianity. That's fine. We don't have to take it as it means something. It can be a waste of time.
It could be a waste of time, but then I'm going to have to doubt that angels wrote it.
No, you don't. You see, that you're not moving past that idea that it's possible. You're like, if the humans didn't write it, then the angels must have. There's no possibility or opening in your mind that this just could be the ramblings of a madman.
Sure, that possibility exists. I think it's ruled out.
But it's either a human rambling or it's a story written by angels.
That seems like the two most likely options.
Okay. And you don't see any issue with that?
What do you mean?
Well, one of your most probable answers to where Revelations came from is aliens wrote it.
Yes.
Right. Well, that's a wee bit out there and a little, you know. Ramblings of a madman is a little bit more probable than aliens.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. We get ramblings from mad people all the time.
Yeah, just because this one's famous. You know, Jesus Christ, look at fucking Jordan Peterson and all the ramblings of madmen like them, you know.
I think that scholars, both religious and secular, see the organization and complexity of the piece of work, and I think that normally ramblings of insane people don't end up something like this.
In all honesty, why are you bringing up scholars? Your opinion of scholars is they are wrong, you are right. So
yes, but even they would agree.
Even they would agree. But if you say all the way through this that you disagree with someone's opinion on the way that they look at the Bible, then you can't then fall upon them if they agree with you on something, because you've been disagreeing with them the whole time.
I don't think it's logically inconsistent to say that their reading frame doesn't make sense for the whole thing, but to simultaneously say that they see the complexity of the work.
Okay. Just to get clarification and make sure, and I'm here to keep you right, you know.
I disagree with scholars and theologians' assessment of the meaning of it. But that doesn't mean that I think they can't judge a piece of work, a piece of literature, and say whether or not it has complexity, definitiveness, if it coordinates with itself, things like that. I think they can.
They're just wrong in their interpretation.
Yeah, they're not mad. They're just wrong in their interpretation.
You're the insane one.
Well, obviously. I don't even think that needs debated.
Right. Chapter 14. And I looked.
And I looked. And lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads, which I think they don't get stamped or branded or something like that. They just believe in God. This is very interesting. In a consistent view of the word mount, which is short for mountain, it's a looming mountain is the overall idea, like a mountain that hangs over your head. And specifically, the mountain view is from a view from one on the mountain who's looking like directly down at you, not at a slope. Yes, Santa Claus is watching you, and be paranoid and all that.
And lo, a lamb stood on the mount. You say that that's a person looking down.
Yes, this perspective mount is looking down from a looming mountain that's over your head.
Yes,
so
but what
really
I'm asking
big
is
thing overhead.
the person doing the looking. I'm confusing on the way that you're explaining things here. The person that's doing the looking, are they below or above?
The one doing the looking is above it, on the mountain.
That doesn't, right. And I looked, and a lamb stood on a mountain.
Yes.
Right. So he's also standing on the mountain. So he didn't stand,
Yes.
He's standing on this mountain with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just find the way that it's written, and the way that the wordage is, that it seems that the person would be looking. You feel that this person in this who is saying, and I looked. Now, the fact that it's I, you're going to claim that it's Jesus, yes?
Yeah, this is John.
Now, we're going to have this issue again, Richard.
It's John.
Seriously, the whole point of this was when it said he or him or such and a such, and then the whole me. And like, Sammy, you've been here. Please, I think you were here for this last one. Is this not a different version of I now saying that it's not Jesus? When you did say that if they use I in the Bible, it means Jesus.
This is not being narrated to John. This is a first-hand account of John. And I looked. And it's not and he looked and told me. It's I looked.
I'm not even going to go down this route for the third time. This is you changing again. You can smile about it all you want, but when you're just picking and choosing who you define as in the story by a whim, like the whole idea with making it slam down on like a rule is just,
Who is he quoting here?
I'm not even going to bother.
Who's John quoting here? If it's not John, who's he quoting?
It ended up with a big row last time. I'm not going down the route.
There's nothing here that suggests he's quoting someone else. Okay. Lamb, I'm going to say Lamb is Jesus. Mount Sion. Sion meaning heaven. Overall, that's the looming mountain. That's where God resides and all that, which is why it says it several times. And with him 144,000, those would be those who are virgins, for they have not lain with a woman, and defiled themselves with sex, not defiled themselves because women are defiling, but because sex makes you distracted. Let's face it, sex is awesome, and you're better off for soldiers if they haven't experienced that.
No. I would disagree with that statement. I would very much disagree with that statement.
Really?
It's better for soldiers to not, because, like, it's a stress reliever. You're going to go into battle feeling better. There's lots of benefits from sex.
Yeah, relaxed soldiers. That's what you want.
No, but you don't want to be going into and worried about dying. You want to be going in and doing your job. There is benefits to sex, man.
Oh, there is, definitely.
I could probably name at least 3 shows where they encourage people soldiers to have sex, to use it as a stress
amongst
relief. Amongst each other.
Because that builds relationships and makes you want to live more and makes you want to cause the other person to live more.
It's also a stress. The point of it is I can name 2 shows that used it as a stress relief before they went into battle.
We can show that it is stress relieving and overall healthy. We can show that. I think we've shown it plenty.
Just that particular statement
that it's best for soldiers. The best situation.
The particular statement, it's best for soldiers not to have sex. I disagree with that statement.
I think it's best for these soldiers not to have had sex.
Ever.
In their lives, yes.
Okay.
With anyone.
Okay.
Other than perhaps themselves.
Okay.
Yes, as it were. I think that's because of the seriousness of the job that they're doing. It's more than life and death. It's actually bigger than that.
I thought it was
Forehead,
literally life and death because supernatural doesn't exist.
It's bigger than life and death because now we're talking about other people's lives and their deaths.
My
And getting
sexual,
them to accept.
my sex life has no relevance in anyone else's life.
But you're also not a virgin, and you're not going to be one of these soldiers. By the way, I'm self-disqualified as well.
Oh yeah, we've already, three of us have elevated you up to general already, you know.
Yeah, well, I know that I'm not going to be part of this army. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters. Boy, Christians just skip right over this. And as the voice of great thunder, and I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. So here we go again with Jesus with the voice of many waters, the voice of thunders, that is the trumpets, that is the angels, and harpers, that is there's like praise and worship going on via angel. Problems?
No, that to me that's self-explanatory.
Okay. And they sung as it were a new song. Well, that's interesting. Before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So they're in heaven. They have this new thing going on, a new belief about things. Mind you, some of these people would have been religious aforehand. And they have this new song that they're singing, which I believe is the song I'm singing now. That heaven is real, that angels are physical, those kinds of ideas. And I believe next they're gonna come down to the, it describes that they are, how they are virgins. That's pretty. Let's just go through that real quick. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb wherever he should go, whithersoever he should go. And these were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, and they are without fault before the throne of God. And then we have a topic change.
Explain that from your point of view.
I think it's pretty simple, actually. They're relatively innocent, able-bodied people who are, brave, like the kid in Stargate that walks up toward the spaceship. They got some guts, man. You do something like that, you are a staunch, strong, a hard person.
Or stupid.
But with a certain amount of innocence. They're not fully adult. And of course, we can go right into why they're easy to take advantage of because of those very reasons, etc., etc.
So they're being taken advantage of by these lovely, nice aliens that give us the choice about things.
Yes, they're definitely being taken advantage of, I think, in the best way possible.
And just because you say the best way possible is the ends justifies the means, you agree with it. The fact that someone is being manipulated and taken advantage of is a bad thing. Just stop there, end the conversation.
Why does it have to be bad?
It's your definitive opinion of whether it's good or not. It's my definitive opinion that this is bad. The point I'm saying is, you can't just, that's where it ends. When someone is being manipulated and taken advantage of, that's generally a bad thing.
I let my boss take advantage of me on purpose. And that's my choice.
Yeah. Okay, that's you.
I think it's to their benefit.
Is that not a fallacy? Yeah. I'm talking a broad brush statement. If someone is out there and manipulating and taking advantage of other people, regardless of, only if you say and agree with what they're doing, is it a good thing at the end?
It depends. I think that in a very simple example, we tell our children certain things in a certain way, in order that they be well-adjusted adults.
That's teaching children. That's not taking advantage. Taking advantage of someone is by definition a negative thing.
Not necessarily.
Only if you agree
and
with the end.
We purposefully try to manipulate them to their benefit.
No, we
And that's the
teach
way
our
I'm using
children.
the word manipulate. What's that?
No, you are flip-flopping between manipulate and teach. Teaching someone how to think and how to move forward and be a better person in society is not manipulating them.
Are they naturally like that?
No, so that's why we teach them, Richard. You're flipping between manipulation.
Teaching is a form of manipulation. I'm being quite literal, it is.
No, manipulation is and teaching are not the same. They are
okay.
not. They're not the same.
Okay, you take someone in their natural state and you try to change that state on purpose to their benefit.
Now
that
you're
is
being
manipulation.
semantical and just dragging it out. It's
No, it's the same way I was using it the first time.
Okay, we'll have a poll. Let's ask the audience: is manipulation and teaching the same thing?
Is Gurr allowed to vote on the poll?
Gurr can do what he wants. We just usually ignore it, though.
Oh, okay. So I'm saying that the 144,000 are being taken advantage of to the benefit of other people and at their cost. That's what it is to be an army. You see a greater benefit to others. You're willing to sacrifice yourself. Part of the rules of being some kind of a armed force. And I believe they are an armed force. Is this the part where they have their right hand strengthened, or was that already passed?
I don't know, Richard. Not sure. I don't think it's appeared yet, but then a lot of this, I'm only here for the banter. I don't remember any of this next week.
Oh, okay.
You see, deception being a teaching tool does not make teaching and deception the same thing.
Now you've changed the word. I never said
I'm
deception.
reading the comments and addressing the live chat.
Oh. Well, I never meant any kind of deception. That's dishonest.
Saying taking advantage of someone and saying that it's okay if the thing that you're doing is a good thing means that you need more information, right? The thing on its own, manipulate. Okay, I'm going to manipulate you, and you say it's okay because the end result is a good thing. Well, that means that there's knowledge of the end result. You're having to take the end result into account to judge the manipulation.
True. Yeah.
Right. Manipulation on its own, without having to know the context, just that thing is negative. You're adding something to it to take away from the negativity. It on itself
that's fair.
Is a negative thing.
I think you're being fair. Yeah, I think that's okay. I would point out that we're talking about the end of the earth in the Bible.
Right. Okay.
And I'd like to think that the 144,000 can see that that's what's going on.
And your point of the person taking advantage of them. They're using the environment to take advantage of them. Okay, so we now know the method of them taking advantage of them. What's your point?
That there's nothing wrong with that? It's not immoral in any way, I guess?
Yeah, you see, you're using your information and your opinion of the end result to justify the manipulation. Manipulation is still bad.
Fair enough.
Teaching.
That's the way you feel about it. I don't feel the same way.
I don't manipulate my daughter. I teach her.
I purposefully manipulate people, including adults, trying to benefit them. I definitely do that all the time.
Okay.
Now, I don't benefit them to try. I don't manipulate them to try to take advantage of them and benefit myself. I don't do that. So I think that's immoral.
Right. And in certain situations, especially with adults, you know, if you're having an argument or a discussion or something's happening, especially in this sort of framework of YouTube and things like that, it is definitely possible to say and do things in certain ways to influence how other people turn out. You may try and manipulate them through your influence.
Sure.
But it's because you think the better result is. That's called being an adult and working things out and stuff like that. Taking advantage of 130 odd thousand people and making them go forth and do bad things. Influence and total manipulation. You're having a conflation of words.
They're only a protectionary force. They're not to harm anyone. I can't see that what they're doing is hurting people. That's nowhere in the story.
Well, I'm sorry, but generally when you raise an army and you go forth to change people's minds forcefully, then I would say that shit's going to be wrong. Shit's going to go wrong. That's an inference from me. But then you inferred that somebody was standing above the lamb. Doesn't say anywhere there about them standing above it. And you inferred that.
What? Standing above the lamb?
In the previous verse.
He's in heaven.
In the mountain.
He's in the Mount Heaven, Sion, with the 144. I don't know.
I know, I get what you're saying and all. I'm just saying that you inferred his position on the mountain. The fact that he's looking down on it. And I said that
Right, he's looking down from that mountain, not that someone's looking down on him on that mountain.
That is the exact question I asked. And now you're saying a different answer.
Well, this is not what I understood you to be asking.
Okay, I said generally when I'm looking at someone on a mountain and it's red like that, I would be looking up at the person. If it was going to be on the mountain with the person, with me standing above, I would say on this mountain with me.
Are you talking about John's perspective?
That's nearly word for word what I said.
Are you talking about John's perspective there, or are you talking from Christ's perspective?
I'm not going to go back a verse because you've changed what you
said. Dude, you said I changed. Okay, whatever.
I'm just saying that we can infer things in different opinions and we can see things from different points of view.
Okay.
So there's a new song before the throne, the four beasts. This is the song. And what is this song describing? This is telling them this is the way it's going to be. This is the way it needs to be. They are going forth and proclaiming God's love.
When I reference other parts, they're apparently in heaven for the war in the heaven for something about 5 months, which is where the sting of the scorpion is applied, those 5 months. So they just spent 5 months in heaven. They're getting ready to come back down to the planet to follow the Lamb wherever he should go. That is the time of his testimony when he's effective, which is not 2,000 years ago. It wasn't effective, and that's apparent. So it's from that perspective, from heaven, them looking down upon the earth, them getting ready to come back down to the earth, and everything they're going to do. So I think that this is talking about their new attitude about heaven, having just been there. You know, with doors that go psst, psst, stuff like that. Cool stuff.
Okay.
So,
go on ahead.
So by this point, I just think it's saying that they're very not religious and very practical about the whole thing. That's the new song, I think. Let's see, where were we at there? Guile. Oh, here we go, 6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth.
Sorry.
Thank you for marking that. And to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. I don't know what's wrong with Christians, why they do not see this as claiming that the gospel is everlasting. Everlasting doesn't mean invented and goes forward forever. Everlasting is the idea in both directions of time.
No, that's ever existing. Everlasting means, from my opinion, is it's always going to last. From the moment it's created, presumed, appeared, or whatever. Ever existing would be something that's always existed. I don't think someone that's saying everlasting, it necessarily means it exists for all time. Very simply, look at Rod Dahl. The everlasting gobstopper means that it'll never run out. That's still something that's created.
Fair enough. Let's go forward from there. If the meaning of the gospel is to accept Christ, accept heaven, which is apparently what Christians think it's about, then once a person ascended into heaven, there's no need for a gospel, is there?
You tell me,
So
Richard.
even just going forward, why would it last forever?
Well, personally, I would say that you like to tell the story of something that happened to you that changed your life. You talk about it all the goddamn fucking day. So you're
Indeed.
now walking around, and why would it not be everlasting? You would keep it in your room, under your pillow. This is the thing that got me here. This is the reason that I'm here. May not be taken out and read every day, but it's still the reason you're there.
Yeah.
Well, you directly asked
Me,
me why would you keep it, and I'm giving you a reason.
It sounds like okay, we got this commercial, buy the car, buy the brand new Ford Prius, whatever. You say, okay, I buy it, and then for the rest of the time you own it, you keep hearing, buy this car, buy this car. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
There's no one in heaven who needs sold on Jesus in heaven. That doesn't make sense.
But here, this is the thing, Richard. Would you be open, seeing as you're using an analogy? I find a small problem with your analogy, and I'm going to twist it ever so slightly to see it make it more relevant, right? Would you have a recording of, or go look up and keep, when you move on onto another car, you'll keep that car? This is the analogy of it. You keep the car. Not only do you keep the car, you give that car some value because it was your first car. So you go and get all the manuals. You go and get all the original equipment. You know, the car is important to you because it was the first car you ever drove. So you don't maybe necessarily, the advert's there, but it's the idea of the car that you keep with you. You don't drive the car. It sits in the garage. You look at it, you make it shiny.
That idea you just actually explained is in the Bible.
Pardon?
That idea that you just explained is in the Bible.
Well, okay, I don't know if it is or not. But
they keep it as memorabilia, as a keepsake.
Mm-hmm. Every usage, everlasting and always being used, not the same thing. It can be everlasting in the drawer.
Fair enough. I think this suggests everlasting inapplicability, not just, is it something interesting from the past where we had superstitions and misunderstandings?
Considering that, you know, the laws of, you know, these ideas of God is going to be the foundation of the society, you know, everyone's going to have to learn it and go through it and understand it in their own way from their own earth, and their Bible will still be a helping tool for them.
Maybe in a very, very limited way. I don't know. I can see your point of view. I don't think it's bad thinking or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could look at this either way.
Okay, moving on then.
Until you get to the next line.
Right. You always have to, you know, you read the whole book. You need to start realizing where we are. Go on ahead, read it now.
Unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. Well, we won't be different peoples of different tongues and different kindred and different nations in heaven. So what I'm saying is, to my mind, maybe only to my mind, everlasting gospel is also demanding another earth, another same situation, even after all of this being done.
Well, whenever you move up into heaven and you're all doing your thing, everybody's going to have things to do and all the rest of it, you know. And there is going to be another earth that they're going to spend 100,000 years tweaking and doing shit and popping back and forth again. And one guy ain't doing this. You're going to need a staff. You're going to need people to do this, right? So dropping little hints and things like that. Everybody that goes to these planets and starts to recreate another one is going to always have to keep up to date and remember, you know. So they're going to need this purely for their job, so they can promote it on onto the next planet.
I believe that does happen, yes.
Yeah, so there's another reason for it to be everlasting.
Fair enough.
By the way, the polls at 75% that know they are not the same thing.
Yeah, I already read it.
Okay.
People disagree with me.
Everybody disagrees with everybody, Richard. You know, it's just this
Oh,
one
but I have
specific.
a majority disagreeing with me. Not
Moving
everybody gets
on.
that.
Give us the next verse.
Um, Hold on a second. We'll move to the page up now to find my place. So there's the everlasting gospel and these people. Okay, saying with a loud voice, thank you. Saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory unto him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters.
Right. Stop.
Um,
Stop.
Go ahead.
Why is fear used there? More negativity.
It's not fear that way, and it's and this may not be the best, because philosophical terms do change over time, but very slowly. It takes a while for people to accept certain new terms and fallacies, etc. I think this is valid. I've recently heard people say, well, you know, you're applying something of today to an ancient people and forcing them to look at it that way, when in fact they didn't. And that word fear right here, although in the King James translation it's a fairly decent translation, I suppose, for Middle English, for late Middle English specifically. So I don't have a big problem with the word fear here, but I think it means a respectful fear, not a disabling fear, not the kind of fear where you quake in your boots and shiver, but the kind of fear where you fear messing up, where you want to do right.
I don't know. Now,
Addressing your grandmother in a wheelchair, you have a certain amount of fear for her.
I'm disagreeing with your usage of this. I think there's a better word. Now, I understand what you're trying to say. You know, I don't want to mess up and I'm scared of messing up. You know,
Sure.
I understand, but I don't call that. We're describing, you know, an argument could be used to say that we're describing fear, but I don't think that it's, you know, it's more of a sense of respect for the. Oh, it's hard. I don't think it's. I'm trying to think of the right word. Someone in the audience help me. Would you say, if your mother said to you, go forth and do something, and you were afraid of messing up, would you describe that as fear, or is there a better word out there for it? Not English pig.
Now, my mom was a short lady. She was pretty tough, but she was short. And I got bigger than her by the time I was about 14.
Yeah.
By the time I was 16, I had no physical fear of her. She wasn't physically strong enough to really hurt me, you know? But I still had a fear of her. I still had something inside of me that had an actual fear for her.
Well, I'm sorry that's your experience. From
Why
a
be
parent's
sorry?
point of view, I don't want my daughter to ever be afraid of me. I know when I raise my voice and things like that, sometimes that causes a momentary fear. But you know, and we're talking about having a fear of letting your parent down. But you saying that at your core, there's always a fear of your mother, I don't think
Yes.
that's healthy.
I don't think we're communicating well, or I haven't said enough.
See, this is the word that we're both looking for that neither of us
It's
can
hard.
find.
It is really hard. And the fallacy is a presentism fallacy, to force the idea of like, okay, if I say I have a fear of falling off of a cliff, or I have a fear of coming to a sudden stop at the bottom of a cliff, well, that's one kind of fear. But the kind of fear I had from my mom was the kind where I didn't want to ever disappoint her.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
to.
want to mess anything up, you know?
I don't think that. Yeah, that is a word I can't fucking think of.
I wanted to impress her. You know, I wanted her to be proud of me.
Yeah, I'm struggling with the fucking word.
Fear's
I
not a
know
perfect word,
exactly
but
what you mean.
it's not terrible. I mean, it's
This is
okay.
the
It
problem
just
with
kind of,
language, though. This is the problem
yes,
with language. You
yeah,
know, me and you both understand exactly what we're talking about.
sure.
Yeah, fear of disappointment is still fear, though. It's not. That's a phrase, not a. Yeah.
Well, it's more than just a negative. There's a positive assertion in there that I want to do well. I want to do what makes sense in reality. I want to do right.
Right. Now, this is where I'm going to, I think I'm getting now, I'm trying to follow my trail of thought. You want to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a respect that you want to have, never failed your parent or whatever. That comes from you. And I'm not going to, since we're pulling emotional words out of the fucking air, that's your guilt if you feel bad, right? You're doing that to stop yourself feeling guilt. You're putting that upon you, right? That's all coming from you. Your mother didn't go around with a big stick and just fucking keep you in line with a stick where you're afraid of her. This particular person is sending forth robots to kill us if we don't do what we're told. That is not respectful fear. That is do what you're told or my cyborg will fucking shoot you.
Yeah, that's the other kind of fear, I think. And I think that's why people kneel down, is for that kind of fear.
Right. And that's the problem I'm having here, is that when it says fear, I have to think what's previously happened in the verses and take that into context. And I don't think that whenever he says fear God, you're like, oh, respect him. No, there's a cyborg behind him with guns. It's
whoa. The cyborg's on the other side, you know.
You know what I mean, though, right? It's very hard to say this is a respectful fear when if you failed your mother, she's not going to fall out with you. You know, she's not going to be, she'll probably have had you to do better next time. She wouldn't just kill you and destroy your planet or burn your house down.
No.
It's different. So I'm having an issue with you saying that this particular usage is that respectful, healthy fear over the fact of all the shit that's just happened.
You don't think there was a big subject change?
What?
You think this subject has been continuous?
I'm talking
even after it went away from the beast of Satan and went to the 144,000 on Sion? I don't think you can carry over the context.
Right. What has happened in this has happened. It will influence every thought I have moving forward.
Okay.
So when previously in the story, and they were forceful, then now you're saying that it's a respectful fear. I have an issue with that, because previously in the story that we read from our perspective, they've not used the respectful fear. They've been nasty.
Yeah, it was nasty, yeah.
Okay.
Those were the bad guys.
Pardon?
Those were the bad guys.
From your perspective, Richard.
Well, yeah, from my perspective.
Yes. These people, these aliens are still, in my opinion, bad people. Manipulation, negative. All these things, negative. All this stuff that we're talking about, negative. We're still reading Revelations. I haven't changed anything.
Yeah, it's all one book. That's true.
Yeah, one guy, according to you, wrote the whole thing. So I'm asking, I have an issue with the fact that this one means respectful fear when previously it's been used as fear.
Well, I personally, I mean, my morals are subjective just like anyone else's. Even my understanding of the Bible is subjective just like anyone else's. And I wouldn't claim an objective morality. I never would try to say something like that. But I think murdering people for them not worshiping you, like, never mind the word murder, that's emotional. Ending their physical life because they won't worship a statue is wrong. And I think a protectionary force going forward to make sure that, like, the last of the people with machine guns don't get to kill the hero who's supposed to explain this stuff, if he's telling the truth, is good. I think that's good.
Yeah, again.
So I don't think they're comparable situations.
All right. You can word it in whatever way you want to justify your definition between these aliens taking us over and these aliens taking us over. And because you agree with them, they're good, this boy's bad. I get that. Say it whatever way you want. Aliens coming to our planet and destroying it is bad. I don't give a fuck who they are. You are making them have sides. They're all aliens and I don't fucking like them because they're here to wreck us.
Okay.
One's here to manipulate us and take us away. The other's trying to strip our planet. Neither of what they are doing is good for us. You were the one putting borders and saying this is good and this is bad. It's all bad. All bad.
Okay. Okay. It's all bad in your view. I can accept that.
Thank you. Where are we at? First hit?
See, fountains of waters. Fountains of water, same again. I'm just going to say the same thing I said before. It's people. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen. That, so specifically that one, like you're pointing at it, great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Go ahead.
May I ask a question? You just previously said that there's a subject change and we can't take into hand what's happened because the story's doing its thing again. It's fucking directly saying, this is Babylon, there's it there, and it's wrecked. Making a reference to the past story. So what, one sentence doesn't suit and then we're back to the story again, or we just flip-flopping between it? Previously,
okay,
I'm not allowed to... No, you
think...
made a statement that I'm not allowed to make reference to what's happened because the story is doing its subject change. It's directly referencing Babylon being destroyed as a past thing. As I have said, that the story keeps continuing. You've mentioned multiple times on multiple episodes that it's doing its thing, it's restarting. It happens over and over and over again. This is not restarting. This is making another reference to the past story.
Yeah, they're doing major time frames right here.
It's not the
Angels
end of a
making
chapter.
Announcements. What's that?
Like, that happens
No,
at
it's
the end
not
of
a
a
summation.
chapter.
It's not one of those summations. We agree. We agree it's not one of those summations because you'd have thunders and lightnings under the throne of God, and you'd
So
have
it's doing
harpers,
the summation in the middle of a verse to subject change, chop and change, but it's not that same thing that's happened before. Okay.
Of course, we can refer back to anything it said before, you know, because we have memory of it. But that doesn't mean the context always carries through between... I mean, the very reason that the people who did the translation put chapters and verses is because they thought there were big subject changes. That's why they did that. The Bible would have consisted, the whole New Testament would have been one chapter if they didn't feel that way. I mean, I agree with them. There are some pretty big topic changes. I break them down even smaller. And I say that some of the verses are together that shouldn't be.
Okay,
But
so this is
this
not
being
relevant
all apocalypsis, they put it in one book.
It's not. Okay, so you're saying that when there's a subject change, they do a chapter. Okay?
I think it would have been
From
fair.
their perspective. I'm not looking at chapter. I'm just reading the story, Richard. And regardless of the chapters and verses, it's making a reference point to something that's happened. Okay? That's all I've been maintaining, that it keeps going forward. The first time when it happened, I agreed with you that it could be a synopsis and a restart of the story. And every other time that it's happened since then, I have said that the story is maintaining and going forward.
Okay.
This is now another example of that for me when it makes a reference point to previous things that we've read. 5 minutes ago when I did that, you said I couldn't do it because its story's doing its thing. Subject change. And now...
No, what I said was, when there's a subject change, you can't carry the context for it because there was a subject change. That's what I said.
And now we're just changing the subject back again. We're just changing it back again. We're going to make reference point to what's happened because we're changing it back again.
How is Babylon the same as the beast?
Babylon and the beast is not the same, Richard. But referencing something in the past of the story is still referencing something in the past of the story.
Sure. And the Bible is very repetitive, referring to itself several times. I think we all accept that.
Jesus really liked fate. That's all I'm reading from the chat.
He really liked what? Feet?
Feet. And he really had a problem with trespassing. Didn't like people trespassing.
Really liked feet. He would have loved the internet. Cryptomeria. Oh, peace and respect, Cryptomeria. I don't have any clue what that's talking about.
Feet. Washing
Oh,
feet.
because he
Always
washes
washes
feet.
There you go. Took you a wee while.
Yeah.
Right, and Babylon has fallen, the great city, because she has made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out with a mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So not only are you going to hell to be tortured, but the angels and Jesus are going to sit around with a carry out and watch it.
There's
nice
nothing here in the idea that a person can survive fire and brimstone. Although tormented means it'll hurt you. I think that's true. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, as tough as he is, and even when he was playing a robot, he still got melted by liquid steel.
Man, you should be referring The Rock now.
Well, that's a brand new movie. That's hip, man. That's cool.
Go with Dwayne Johnson now. Go with The Rock. Everyone likes The Rock. That's the modern Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Did he do a Predator? I'm sorry, Terminator?
No, but he was Black Adam, and he's a demigod and all now with like shoulder muscles out here and shit. You know, he's the new Arnie Schwarzenegger. You're just showing your age, but I get.
I wouldn't want to wrestle Dwayne Johnson. That's for sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely not. Yeah. Well, I am getting older. It's fair.
Yeah, it's like when someone refers to the radio as the wireless. It's like, what age are you?
You know, I think in bodybuilding today, there's only one person who's recently considered to be in better proportion, better musculature, better condition without being too veiny than Arnold Schwarzenegger was. I got like one dude, Ronnie Coleman. Dude's impressive, no doubt about it.
All right, I'll take your word for that. Watching men lift weights, not my thing.
No, not lifting weights, but in the competition, probably still frames, actually, where they're at the peak of their flex. You know, and they've got
pictures of semi-naked men flexing their muscles. Not
yes,
my thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Usually covered in tan as well. Not my thing.
Okay, fair enough. I'm looking to do a drawing with an accurate back that's very muscular. So I've been looking at the backs of these bodybuilders.
So guys, you've been looking at the backs. Okay, you're making it worse.
I don't know why. I think if you're going to draw human-like muscles that make sense on a human, you'd have to know that anatomy pretty well.
I know, I'm joking.
And the bodybuilders, they're better than medical pictures, because the medical pictures just have everything a long, skinny muscle, and that's not real.
Hey, Spooky. Hey, Pagan Mum. Sorry if I missed you. Right.
Okay.
10. We're 10.
Yep.
11.
Yeah, so there'll be those in heaven watching this go on with the earth. I think that's true. And in the presence of the Lamb, that is, the Lamb will be right there while this is happening. This is during his last Jesus 40 days.
Sitting watching it all burn.
Well, he's right there with them too, man. So.
No, watching and being with them is different. No. Interacting and watching is different. Watching means not there with them. Watching specifically means watching. It no way means that you're part of it. That's interaction.
It's not a part of it, except emotionally. A person can have empathy.
Okay, so when you mean he's right there with them and say these other people aren't there, but Jesus is right there with them, you don't mean physically.
Right. Well, he's on the planet as it's falling apart, and escapes narrowly himself. And that's the 40 days, all that after the resurrection. He
is not escaping narrowly. He is going to be part of the council.
Oh, he's assured to escape. Don't get me wrong.
Yes. So it's not narrow if he's assured. It's not a narrow escape if it's
He
assured.
doesn't. He narrowly escapes it, although his escape is assured.
Yeah.
He's right there, like till the very last minute that he can be.
I just the phrase
And
narrow
I'd like
escape.
to think that Jesus is a good guy and will probably be very tore up about the whole thing, actually.
I don't know. I'm not going to do another poll, but if someone narrowly escapes something and someone is guaranteed to escape something, I can't have the same. They're not the same to me. A narrow escape is you don't know if you're going to escape until right at the end. That's why it's narrow. It's a narrow window for you to leave in, or you can't escape. It's a narrow window. For you to have a guaranteed escape, totally different.
I don't know. We set things up like that in movies all the time. A car flips over and just misses somebody. You know.
Yes, but the storyline, like they're in the story, they're not going to kill off the main character, and in real life, it can happen. So that's totally different. What happens in movies?
Oh, it's all set up. I agree.
Yes, I don't care what's set up. The definition to me of a narrow escape is when there's a narrow window for you to escape. A guaranteed escape is not a guaranteed escape. I don't give a fuck what they do in movies.
That's absolutely fine, and I don't think it's worth. I think it's semantical. It's fine.
I've had to lift.
I think it's just fine to say that even if you just volunteer to stay,
this is what you're doing to me. I've had to lift out my little stress switch.
Hope it helps.
Here and just click it.
And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, which doesn't mean their torment lasts forever and ever, Christians. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image. Well, they're essentially fearful of everything and have made the wrong decision. And that makes them essentially slaves, and slaves who must worship, which is horrible. Receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of saints. Here are they that will keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. I think 12 is probably a good place to start. How are we on time?
We've been going for over an hour, so if you want to take a chubby change or whatever, we've been going an hour and 15 minutes.
Only this time, I'm going to actually make a note because we're cloutless. We're declouted. Our clouts have been broken.
We're missing you, Clout. We miss you.
Miss you, Clout. So this is 1413.
1413.
1413. Lovely.
Richard, what have you got going tomorrow? Tomorrow you have about, 12 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. my time. You should have Mac and Steve. Would I be right?
Except those times changed due to their schedules. But other than, we have a reluctant theist, Mac the human, and an agnostic atheist who happens to be a bovinidae, a zebra, oddly enough. Now the zebra keeps odd sleeping hours, so sometimes isn't there, but we're very blessed when he can be.
Yeah, we all love Steve. Anything else? Like any crazy Muslim hangouts this week?
This Saturday, we were rescheduled. It was supposed to be this past Saturday. Skylar Fiction invited Beck on and myself, which I don't think they need me to be there, but Beck will be on Skylar Fiction this coming Saturday if all goes according to plan.
Brilliant. I'll make sure that I'll be there. I'll definitely be there, So that's 1 a.m. our time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard on Saturday, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct so far.
I'm getting there. My timing's not too bad.
And tomorrow's show is noon EST. Tomorrow's show with Mac and possibly Zebra is noon EST.
Yeah, so that is 5 p.m. UK. I was right.
Okay, I thought you were talking about 5 p.m. local.
No, 5
Sorry.
p.m. for me. Sorry. I may not have
Ah,
said that, but in my head I was thinking 5 for me.
see, when you carry over the context when you weren't supposed to, you see what happens.
Other than that, I might do a stream on Saturday, and then we can bounce over to Skyler's afterwards, maybe about 10 o'clock my time, which will be 5. Give me a couple hours before Skyler goes live. I don't know if anyone wants to come and join me this week, if anyone's got a good topic. Spartan, it's been a while. How are the kids? You know, if you want to come on Saturday, I'd love the opportunity to come on and catch up, Spartan. You've been doing the whole thing with Apocalypse here and stuff now, like, so I'd be interested in get that on. But yeah, if anyone wants to come on and do Saturday show with me, hit me up. I haven't got a topic or fuck all right. You know, we usually wing it on Saturday and just see how
Spartan wrote 8 p.m. real time.
Who wrote that?
Spartan.
Spartan.
Because United States, East Coast, that is real time. That's what time it actually is.
Yeah. I recently I was looking about where the Greenwich Median time zone came from and why it was come up, and it was a competition in 1707, I think it was. That
competition? How'd they decide?
There was, because we can do longitude or latitude. Which one is it? Up and down.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we can do that by the North Star, regardless of where you are on the planet. That was easy to do, and people could tell how north or south you were. Going from east to west is different because things move and they rotate. So what the competition was recently there was a guy, he was coming back from a French war or whatever it was, and he crashed 4 boats, wrecked it, load of people died. So the British people, the king or wherever the fuck it was, or somebody put out a competition, £20,000 to the winner to figure out how to move or how to register going left to right. And one of the ways they came up with was a clock, and by using a clock and knowing that there's time zones, if you know the original time and where you are locally, you can do 15 degrees for every hour. I think it is, isn't it? Yeah. So
yes,
you can then do your time zones and work out where you are east via that way. The problem was with boats. So the winner of the competition was actually a clockmaker. He spent years trying to build the most perfect mechanical clock. Used gemstones and gold, just everything wouldn't vibrate, just perfect clock. And because he was from England, and because the British had this at the start, that's where always 0 was when they went out. When everyone else in the world caught on, 0 stayed where it was.
That was very believable.
Where the Greenwich Meridian mean, that's why we use
just the right amount of boring to be
just
true.
the right amount of boring, yeah. Really boring. I don't know why you do. Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming. Richard, if you're up for it, we after party over in yours. You gonna do we after party like you did?
I'm actually ill and I could use some rest.
No bother. How's Derek?
Still unable to grasp my schedule, but in good spirits.
Good to hear. Right, well, on that note, yeah, somebody go live so we can go and hang out or do something. I just can't be arsed fucking running it anymore, but we'll go talk somewhere. Somebody go live. Other than that, yeah, come back Saturday. Richard will be here next Tuesday. And yeah, definitely, folks, if you're close to St. Louis, New Year's Eve, as I said earlier, 70 quid, 2 nights accommodation, food, t-shirts, come and hang out with all of us. We've it all booked and stuff. And yeah, it would be great to just get to know people and hugs. Richard's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Savage going to be there. Bree's going to be there. Sammy hopefully is going to be there. Maya confirmed today that she's going to be there. There's going to be a nice wee group of us. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming. And we're all arseholes. None of what we say is real. Think for yourselves, people.